the same
Good
question.
evening. How are you? Good evening. How are you, Bishop?
Yeah, good.
Oh, great. What about the rest? Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah. Hi, Pradeep.
Hi, hi, how are you?
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Too. Fantastic. Yeah, Pavni. Good evening. How are you?
Fine, sir. Fine, sir.
Great. All right. It's a pretty evening. Right. It's a cold day. All right. What about the Bindu, Shravani, and Ishagra?
Yes, sir, audible.
No, great. How are you?
Yeah, it's audible. Hi, how are you? Good evening.
Yes, sir,
I'm
it's
okay.
audible.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Kushagra. It's your first day. Welcome to the
Yes, sir, thank you.
group. Kushagra, where are you from?
Sir, I'm from Noida,
Oh, great. So you
Uttar
are a
Pradesh.
working professional. You are a
Yes, sir,
student.
I'm a working
Uh,
professional.
what is that? Okay. In which sector?
Sir, in IT sector only, I'm an automation tester.
Great. Automation tester. Great. So you are here for the data analyst part, right?
Yes, sir, data science one. If it's a data analyst course also, I'll take the demo.
Yeah, it's a data analyst or data science. Right.
Yes.
Definitely. You can be here. Please just try to have a look. It's been a day. We yesterday started with the sessions. Today is the second day. All right. Not a problem. All right. So, guys, fair enough. Let's start with the session. So yesterday we started with the orientation part, what exactly the Python is. So I'll try to explain it in a now in a very proper and channelized way, so you guys will be able to understand in a systematic way. Right. So once again, I told you yesterday what is Python. Python is an interpreter language. Let me share the screen. So now we're going to start with the syllabus proper and in a ordered way. So I was saying Python is an interpreter language, right? So I said it's an interpreter language. When I mentioned the word called an interpreter, what exactly the meaning means that interpreter means what? It's trying to be a mediator, right? It's trying to be a mediator. For example, the same example I'll continue with yesterday. If I want to speak, when I'm speaking in English with a crowd who is a Spanish speaking people, right? So what I'll do is that I'll have a mediator, and what that mediator will do is that I'll translate my words into English language. The mediator will understand whatever I'm trying to deliver. He'll transform that words into the Spanish language and he'll just deploy to the Spanish people, right? So I'll write it here so it will make it very easy for you to understand. So suppose I'm traveling and I'm saying something, right? English, right? Here is an English language I'm speaking, right? And this will be converted into Spanish, right? Spanish. But to convert this into Spanish, what we exactly need is a interpreter, right? The guy is there who's converting into the language called as a Spanish. Okay, I hope my screen is visible. Interpreter. And he interpreter. Okay. So now what he's doing is that his job is what? His job is nothing to translate exact thing what I'm being trying to deliver in English. Right? His job is to convert that English form into Spanish form. And when the Spanish people, that what Spanish people are there, whatever they say, what his job is role again, what his role is again, to convert that Spanish language, right? I'll copy this part, interpreter what his job role is again, convert that Spanish language back to its original form, that is English language. This is a job role of a mediator or interpreter. We talk in a very literal form. So in the same way, what Python is doing is that Python is doing nothing. Python is converting that human language, right? It's called human readable language, whatever you are typing, wherever you going to write the code. That human readable language is converted, right? Python is an interpreter over here. So Python, I'll write over here what Python does is that it converts into the machine language, right? It converts into the machine language. What is machine language? We know machine understand only zeros and one. Apart from that, machine doesn't understand any other form. Right. In the same way, vice versa, again, when machine generates an output, right? When a machine generates an output in this way, what again Python does is that Python converts that output again into which form? Back to this human a readable form, which we can understand. Okay, this is what the job role of interpreter is. Nothing other apart from this thing, right? So this is very clear. Now we have understood what Python does. Now when I'm saying like interpreter, when I'm saying interpreter, now suppose if I'm saying like, hi, how are you, right? I want to translate this something into another language, like suppose into Japanese, right? So how the interpreter translate? Interpreter will translate this, my hi, how are you, line by line. So what I said is the first line, I said hi, I said hi, look at it. I said hi. Apart from after that, what I said is, how are you? Right. So what the interpreter, right, whoever the mediator is there, I have hired, right, or who is the guy. So what he needs to do is that he has to translate in exact way, line by line. Hi, and after that, how are you? Right. So suppose this guy wants to translate something into Japanese. So what he'll say is konnichiwa. Right. He'll say konnichiwa. Konnichiwa means hi in Japanese. Then he'll say something in Ogat, Omaga, something is that, Omagetsu, right? What does it means that he means to say like, how are you? So if you look at guy, right, we look at the guy, he's translating this thing line by line. He's not going in an unsynchronized way. He's not saying, how are you first, and then he's not going with the hi. What he's doing is that he's going in order, which order I have said the things. I said hi, after that I have said, how are you? So what this mediator does is that he translates the same thing exactly just into another language, right? So what he said firstly, hi, that is what I was said, what already I said first line. Then second, what I said is, how are you? And he converted that into the omagetsu, that is like, how are you in his own language. Got it? So in the same way, when you're talking about this Python language, let me grab this one. So when you're talking about this Python language, so when you write a line of a code, right? Suppose I write print, look at the screen, and I say hello world. I say hello world. Okay, look at the screen now. And I say few lines. Okay, I'll say few lines. Again, I'll say hello world, hello world. Now look at it how Python works. Okay, let me copy this part. Let me copy this part and I'll say, okay, let me make it small t. Print starts with this because see, it's a case sensitive language. Now look at it. I have written print how many times? One, two, three, four, five, six. Okay, I have written the print hello world six times, right? So what I'll do is that this quote, I'll remove the quote on the fourth line. Okay, this is our fourth line. Okay, this is our fourth line. So the first, second, third. Okay, do not worry. How do we write the syntax? Not worry. I'm just trying to make you understand how Python works. Okay, three lines are correct. This fourth line has an error. Okay, this fourth line has an error. And after that, again, fifth and sixth line is correct. Okay, so when I run this code, see what will happen. As soon as I run this code, as soon as I run this code, this is generating an output error called as hello world, right? Here it has generated an output. What is it has generated? Saying print hello world is incorrect syntax. Is that incorrect syntax? But if you look at this part, this three part, if you look at this three part, these three parts are absolutely correct. These three parts are absolutely correct. This three has to generate an output. He has to generate an output. Now say if I say hi, look at it in a very closely manner. If I say hi, look at it. It's a mistake. If you run this code, you will see this is creating an error over here. Let me show in the Jupyter. So what happens is that this line of a code, it generates an output. This three line of a code has to be printed. And after that, this line creates an output. This creates an error because there is an error at this point. And after that, whatever the line of a code you have written, whatever the line of a code will never execute. Sometimes see, when you use a different platform, this is like a platform I'm using a Colab. I'm using a Colab. If I run the same line of a code, if I run the same line of a code in Jupyter, if I run this line of a code, it will show an output of these three lines, and this will show an error. So let me show you on this part. Let me show you the screen, Jupyter. Well, I hope my screen is visible to you. I'll show it to you how it works. Not to worry. New. Let me share the screen. Yeah. My screen is visible. Okay. Yeah, look at it. Do not look at that Colab. See, Colab has very different functionality as compared to another one. If you look at now the screen, what are you able to see Jupyter? Look at the Jupyter now. Look at the Jupyter, and you will be able to see on the screen. You will be able to see there is a three printout. There are three printout that is high, high, high. This is an exact code which I've written over here. If I let me zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see. Let me zoom in a bit. See this line is absolutely correct. Print high. This line, print high. This is correct. This line, this syntax is also correct. But when I go to this fourth line, when I go to this fourth line, you will see this line has an error. And it has already shown. See, look at it. It is pointing at fourth point. If you look at it, now let me highlight it in the blue part, you'll be able to see that it is saying, the Python is saying that interpreter is trying to say me that, but Python is an interpreter over here, which is trying to convert this human readable form, this human readable syntax into the machine language format. And when it finds an error, it is saying that fourth line, you have an error. But if you look at the fifth line and if you look at the sixth line, still they're correct. But what happens is that when you find an error in the Python, what it says is that you need to correct this error. You need to correct this error. Only and only when you correct this error, I will be able to proceed ahead. But if you go to other end programming language like C, C++, or Java, what happens is that this entire line of a code, I'm just writing 6 lines of a code. That is there's no problem. Imagine if you're writing a 6,000 line of a code, this entire block of statements, this entire code gets executed, and after that it shows you an error. What is that error? It's just a small error called as a name error. That means you're missing a double quote, right? Nothing apart from that double quote. Then what you have to do is that you have to wait for 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes you have an output saying that there is an error. And what is that error? It's a minimal error. Just the semi-commas, that is the double inverted commas are missing. And that is not like an error. That is like maybe mistakenly you have forgotten. Every time if you're consuming some amount of a time and error is a small error, definitely it is going to create a frustration. Python is made this thing very good, that what they did is that they have removed this part of execution, that they do not run the entire block of statement. What they do is that it reads the line interpreter. What interpreter does is that it converts the whatever we are speaking, right? What interpreter does is that it converts, he or she converts line by line. The same way only Python, what it does is that it reads line by line. Okay, I'm able to generate an output. Yes. Here, I'm able to generate. Okay, Python is saying yes, I'm able to generate. Here also generate. But here, if I'm showing an error, what Python will do is that Python will stop here only. It will not proceed ahead, no matter how much the syntax is correct. What Python will say is that you correct the sentence and then only I'll proceed ahead. Now what I'll do is that if I copy this line of the code, if I copy this line of the code, if I paste it over here, and if I correct this error, okay, now let me correct this error. And now see, when I run this line of the code, all the 6 lines, look at it. High, 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 3 times. But fourth high, see that I was capital, see what was printed. And after that, fifth and sixth line was printed correctly. If I again copy this line, if I copy this line and I say, okay, if I paste it over here, if I paste it over here, now if I again generate an error, right? If I again generate an error, look at it. At this line, there's an error. Now what happens? See, now what happens? Now it is showing that at this line, there is an error. This has to be printed. Now I don't know what happens. This is like a glitch into the system. So when you print this, all the 4 lines of a code, this or fourth line of lines of a code will be executed, and at wherever there is an error, this error is shown, and after that, whatever the line of the code is there, after that, it is still not executed. The reason why, because Python asks you to correct that error, and after that only it will proceed with the remaining part. So this is the best functionality of Python. What it is says that you need to correct the sentence very first, and after that only it will generate an output. Look at it now. Look at it. The first 4 lines are printed high, 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 high. And now see at the fifth line, it is also pointing. If you try to highlight this part, you'll be able to see at the fifth part, you'll be able to see there is an error. There is an error. And after that, sixth line was correct. Sixth line was correct, but still it didn't print. The reason why, Python says that it's an interpreter language. If I'm able to generate an output, I'll generate an output no matter how many times. But if there is a no output over there, if there's an error, What I'll do is that I'll stop my execution at that point only. You need to correct that error. After that only I'll proceed with the remaining part of the statement. Got it? So look at it. Till four lines it was able to generate an output. See, four line of output was generated. But at the fifth line, there was an error. It shows an error. See, look at it, name error. And after that, sixth line was correct, but still it didn't proceed with the sixth line. Why? Because as I said, it's an interpreter language. It says you need to correct that line of a sentence. If you correct, then and then only I'll proceed with the next line. Correct? So look at it. If I look at remove this part, third part, look at it. I have now two parts. At fifth part also I have an error, and at the third part also I have an error. Now see what happens. First two lines it executed because input was right, output was right. So it generated an output, and at the third line it found an error, that name error. Then what it said is that it doesn't proceed with the next part. Right? This was not been proceeded. Why? It is saying you need to correct this error. So I need to correct this error. If I correct this error, now see what happens. It will generate four outputs now. Hi, hi, hi. And at the fifth, again it found an error. Now it says that you need to correct this error. Now when I correct this error, now it will proceed with the next one. So no matter see how much time it is saving, it is not running the entire block of statement. If it was a 10,000 line of a code, it is not going to run 10,000 of line of a code. Even if the error is at the first line, even if the error is at the first line, in the fraction of second it says, okay, there is an error. It will not run the entire line of a code and then throw an output saying that there is an error. That is why Python is being preferred by most of the companies in the programming. Why? Because it's very faster when you're trying to generate an output. Because nowadays what people want is a quick output because the line of the code, the software is becoming very faster. So what you do is that you have a limited period of time, and within the limited period of time, you have to build a very robust software, and that is why you need some kind of languages that are very easy, faster, convenient, and easy to understand. And that is why Python comes into the play. Now you got it. What is an interpreter language? An interpreter means what? It goes line by line. So what interpreter does is that interpreter does the same thing, the human, right? When we are given a book to translate from one language to another. So what interpreter does is that word by word, line by line, he converts or she converts that line into the language which was been told. Or when you're speaking in English and needs to translate in French, the what guy does is that he or she, the mediator, the interpreter, translate line by line whatever was been said into original language. So that is the role of an interpreter. Now, is it clear? You understood what exactly interpreter is? Yes or no? Are you still unclear, or is it clear now what interpreter language is?
Yes, yes, it's clear.
Yeah.
It's clear, sir.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. This is how it works. It executes line by line. When I asked you question, right? Okay, did you understand? So interpreter will first convert, did you understand? And when you said yes, after that it will go to yes part. It's a line by line execution. Okay. So this is how Python works. Now let me share you the screen. And sorry, the screen is already shared. Now let me show you the start of slides. Now let's start with the syllabus. Okay. Let me get you to that slide. Just let me know if my screen is visible. What you can see on my screen. Just let me know. What are you able to see on the screen?
Variable,
Variable.
like it is.
Python
Yeah.
variables.
Right. So thank you. So the variable is the first topic. This is the first topic in the Python. So what exactly variable means? Look, looking at the screen, it will be very much clear if you read the slide. I want to make it understand in a real example. As I said yesterday, I want to call someone, right? There are two ways to call, either by noun or by pronoun. What is pronoun? He, she, we, they, those are pronouns. But when I say, okay, he had a lunch. So when I say he had a lunch, it is very unclear to understand who exactly had lunch. But if I say Alex had lunch, so it is very clear to understand, okay, we are talking about Alex, talking about specific thing. And what action, right? That is the verb. What verb he has done, what action he has done? He has done lunch, right? Eating part. He has done eating. So same way, variables are required. Why variables are required? If you want to assign a certain value. Remember looking at the screen, if you see on the right hand side, there's a BMW. If you look at this part, the gray part, on the right hand side, whatever has been written, they're always called as a value. And what is on the left hand side, those are called as the name. Those are called as the variables. Got it? What left hand side are called as variables and right hand side are called as the values. So Python variables are containers for storing data values. What Python variables are? They are the containers for storing the data values. As I said, on the right hand side, what is those? Those are the values. If I want to hold certain values, right? I need to hold a certain value. So what I need is a variable, and variables are nothing but what? Name. And why do we need that? I'll tell you in the proceed in the further stage as we move ahead. Just remember, naming is required. Why? Because we are talking about the real-time example. When I want to make it very specific that Alex had a lunch, so I need to call that name. If I do not call the name, if I say she had a lunch, so it is very unclear to the person who I'm talking and trying to explain that who had lunch. But if I make it very clear, if I say Ella, right, or Ellie, Ali had a lunch. So to the guy or to the person whom I'm talking, it is very clear to understand that I'm talking about specific Ali. So when you're going to use a certain values, right? When you're going to use that values for any kind of an operation, so you need to tell the program, you need to tell the software, you need to tell the Python, you need to tell the machine that what exactly whom you're using. If you do not make it very specific, human brain can understand what we are talking about, but machine cannot understand. You tell machine very specifically and precise whom you need to perform the operation upon. You need variable. Now it must be very much clear what why variables we require. If you want to make the machine work on a certain things only, and then you need a variable on a particular values only. If I want to perform addition on a certain values, then you will pick up those values which has the values of addition. So if you want to make it very specific, you need a variable. So if you look at it, right hand side are called the values and left hand side are called the variable. Those are names. Now, if this is one way variable, if you look at this part, my cursor, either you can use this way a single name and a single value, or you can do is that you can use multiple variables. Now, in talking about a technical language. So remember now you're not going to call them as a name, you're going to call them as a variable. So look at the left hand side. Now, either you can use one variable and assign one value, or you can do is that you can use multiple variables. What I'm saying is that you can use multiple variables and you can assign multiple values. But one thumb rule to remember is that all the variables and all the values are separated by comma. They are not separated by any other operator. I told you yesterday exactly 23 hours ago, go through the Python Enhancement Proposal 8 rulebook. That is PEPET. What is PEPET? That is the rule book that explains how do you write a code into the Python language. So when it comes to that, it will show you that when you want to separate the values, multiple variables holding multiple values, you need to use the separator called as comma. You cannot use semi-comma, neither you can use hyphen, no other symbol apart from a comma when you want to use multiple variable holding a multiple values. Now, what it means multiple variable holding a multiple values? That means if you are using multiple names, like look at the left hand side, those are called as the names variables. If I have three variables called as an X, Y, Z, and I have three values assigned to it, Audi, BMW, and Mercedes. So those all the variables that are X, Y, Z, they should be comma separated. If I do not use comma, then what will happen is that it will be considered as a only one word like X, Y, Z. See, look at here. If I write like CAR, it is car. But if I use a comma, that means what? C is individual element, A is individual element, and R is an individual element. Got it? But if I do not use semi-comma, then it is going to consider it as a single word. So that is the reason if I use a comma, what happens is that it's an ordered way. So this Audi will be assigned to X, BMW will be assigned to Y, and Mercedes will be assigned to Z. If I do not use a comma, what will happen is that it will be considered as an X, Y, Z as one whole word, not be considered as an alphabet. It will be considered as a whole word, and this Audi will be assigned to X, Y, Z. BMW and Mercedes will not be assigned. Reason because they are separated by comma. So if we use a comma, that means that we are trying to assign one variable, one value. One variable, one value, and one variable, one value. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you can assign single variable with single value, or you can assign multiple variables with multiple value. Now you might ask the question, so why have we used a double inverted comma over here? What exactly it means? Do not overthink. As I said on the day one, you just take it as a learning. Whatever I'm trying to give it, focus your learning on that specific part only. Apart from that, do not indulge in another kind of a thing, what semicolon means and what this means. Whatever I'm trying to explain, you just try to learn. Focus on it. What is that semicomma? What is that is called an inverted comma? I'll try to explain you when it comes to the data types. As of now, you just try to remember how do you assign a value to the variable. Single variable, single value, and multi-variables with multiple value. Now what happens is that now this is the best part that comes into play when you talk about this objects. So what happens is that when you create a variable, right? And I suppose I create a variable with a name called A, right? So it's like my name is Sangram and it's your name is Pradeep, your name is Shravani, her name is Kishore, right? So you have your name. Why you need a name? To identify yourself. If someone wants to call me, how he or she will call me with my name, right? If someone wants to call you, how he or she will call you with your name. That is your identification, right? That is why we need a variable. Now look at this screen. It's an object reference. What object reference means is that when I create a variable, right? When I create a variable, so what is going to happen is that some amount of this variable is going to be used into the memory, right? We have a memory. What is memory? That is like a hard disk, right? We talk about 512 GB. We talk about 1 TB. We talk about 256 GB RAM, right? We heard it now. We talk about when we want to purchase a laptop or a system, what we check with the internal properties. What we check is RAM. How much RAM do you have? We check about how much hard disk we have. So why hard disk is required? Hard disk is required to store the content in the laptop on your system. You need a good hard disk. The same way, when I'm creating a variable, what is going to happen is that it's going to consume some memory on your hard disk. Right? It's going to consume your memory. So now I assign a value called 50. Right? Look at it. A is a variable, and what is 50? 50 is a value that is assigned to it. So when you create a variable with a 50, so some amount of that memory has been stored into the laptop. Now look at the next part. When I create, when I create another variable, when I created another variable called b, and that also holds the same value called as 50. Look at the previous slide. I created a variable called a, and the value is 50, and I another created whose variable name is b, but the value is same. But the value is same. Now, what Python does is that it will not create a separate memory. I'll try to explain into the paint as well in a very better way, much more way to make you understand. What Python does is that it will not create a separate memory for this B location. What it will do is that it will use the same value 50 and it will just use that A and B as a reference pointing to the same value. What I'm trying to say is that let me show you on the word. Let me try to make show you on this paint. It will be very much clear. Let me show you the paint. Do not worry. I'll make it very much clear what exactly happened. Let me share the screen. Let me share you paint. Is my paint visible? Once my paint is visible, just let me know. Okay. What happens is that now 50 is created, right? Now suppose this is a memory. We know that memory, right? When we talk about computer, 1 byte, right? One, it's stored in a byte. It's stored in a byte. The value is stored in a byte. Remember this thing. Value in a computer is always stored in a byte. So what happens is that when pi is stored, right? This is like a array. It's always stored in a proper systematic way. This has occupied some space, right? This is what 50, right? This is a value I have created. Now this 50 is stored into my hard disk. It's stored into my hard disk. And I have given a name to it, right? I have given a name to it that is called the A. And when I search A, what happens is that I get 50. It's like a simple way. Now, suppose I want to search for photos, right? So what I go do is that I go to search, right? If I go to search, and in the search, I type photos. What I do is that photos. So whatever the word is with the reference called as a photos, that appears in my screen, in front of my screen. Yes or no? That appears in front of my screen. In the same way, when I search A, this 50, which is stored into the hard disk, it appears in front of my screen. Now, what happens is that it is stored into the system. Now, what happens is that again I create a value of 50. Again, I create a value of 50 as I stored into the screen. Look at this part. Look at this part. Right, this is that where it gone. Now, what happens is that now I create a variable called as a B, right, with the same value. So what happens is that mm, hard disk, hard disk or the Python will not create one more. It will not consume one more byte for this 50 value. It will not consume one more byte for 50 value. What it will do is that Python has understood that I have already created a location for 50. What it will do is that it will just use that B as a pointer. It will just use a reference to 50 to not create a separate memory. It will not create a separate memory. What it will do is that it will go with the existing value only. What it will do is that it will go with the existing value only. Now, just imagine, my question to you is that if my programming language has 1000 line of a code, 1000 line of a code. And out of that 1000 line of a code, my value 50 is going to be used, right? 50 is going to be used 50 times. Listen to me. This 50 value, this is a value. This 50 value is going to be used 50 times. How many times? 50 times. And in computer language, if you want to store something, it is always stored in a byte. And every element takes one byte. If you talk about integer, it takes 8 bit, that is one byte. Now you tell me, it is going to consume one byte. It is going to consume one byte. And I have the same value 50 times. So you tell me, if I multiply 50 into 50, what will be the output? What will be the output? If I multiply 50 into 50, what will be the output? You tell me. See, I have written, I'll make it very simple. I have written 1000 line of a code. Okay. In that 1000 line of a code, I'm using a value of 50. Right. This is the value I'm going to use for certain operations. And that has been used like maybe 100 times, not 50 times, I'm making 100 times. That 50 value is being used 100 times. So you tell me, if I multiply this 50 with 100, what will be the output? Just tell me. My math is poor. Help me with the math. What will be the output?
5,000.
Okay. Yes. 5,000. Now look at it. Now there's this main point of focus. So what happened is that it is going to use it is going to be used 5,000. Now you tell me I'm going to use the same value again and again. This 50 is not been used a new one. This is the same value. It's just I'm using 100 times. Now you imagine if it is going to be used 5,000 times. So imagine this 5,000 times, right? This 5,000 times has to be stored, has to be stored on your hard disk. It is going to be stored on a hard disk. And imagine if I divide by byte, one byte is equal to 8 bits. If I divide it by 8, so if I divide 5,000, because it is being used 5,000, na? Because see, one byte is equal to 8 bits. Not to worry. What this is a technical. I'm just trying to make you explain in a clear way. Do not get into much into deep. Just tell me if I divide 5,000 by 8, what is the output? If I divide 5,000 by 8, what is the output? What is the output? 5,000 by 8. Because see, we did use this 50 value. How many times? I have used this 50 value 100 times. Look at it. Okay. So it becomes like 5,000, right? 5,000, right? So this 5,000 value has to be stored on system because we are building a software, right? So building a software, so you need to build something in a program. You need to keep it on somewhere in the hard disk, right? If you do not keep it on a hard disk, it will not. If you come back tomorrow, so it will be blank page. It's like a blank canvas. You don't want blank canvas. You're writing code. You're going to store into the disk, right? You're going to store into your drive. You're going to keep it somewhere. You're going to occupy some space. So if I divide this 5,000 by 8 bit, that is 1 byte. So you tell me what is the output. Yes, tell me. My math is poor. Help me with the math. Rakesh, tell me. If I divide 5,000 by 8, what is the output? You sure? Tell me quickly. Girls, tell me what is the output?
625.
Hmm? How much?
625.
625, right? 625? 88261. Okay. 8040. Okay, 625, right? 625. Imagine what is happening is that it is trying to occupy 625 bytes on your computer. How many? 625 bytes. Now, my question to you is that if this value is mm, stored and if it is going to occupy 625, imagine just it's for one value. It is just for one value. Suppose you have so many like 100 values which are going to be used repeatedly. Imagine how much space you're going to take. How much space you're going to take. And my question again is that do you think that company is working on only one software that is assigned to you? No, companies work on different software, different technology, and they work on a different things. If you are going to consume, if your only one value is going to consume 625 bytes of memory, then maybe like make it 100, 1000 bytes. 1000 bytes is like 1 GB, 1 MB. If your one value is going to consume 1 MB of value, then you tell me that how much server will you require? Company cost will increase a lot. What happens is that Python has reduced this kind of a space thing as well. What it will do is that it will just use one location for 550 and no matter how many references you use. What it will do is that it will just create a reference. It will not create a separate value. Now, what is like references like? It's your last name. It's your last name. You tell me when your ancestors were there, they had a name, right? They had certain surname, like maybe Singhania, maybe Bagadi, right? My name is Bagadi, last name. You tell me my forefather, my great grandfather had the same last name. My grandfather had the same last name. My father had the same last name, and my last name is same. So what happened is that that didn't change. First name changed, right? My father's changed, mine changed, my grandfather changed, but the last name was not changed. What in practical is that this 50, if you tell, this is just going to occupy only one byte, and what you just need is a reference. So you can this is my name is A, my father's name is B, my grandfather's name is C, my grandfather's name is D, and maybe my children's name will be E. So what I'm trying to tell is that value is going to occupy only one byte. If I try to use a value right into database, imagine it is going to consume a lot of space. If you are going to consume a lot of space, company's cost will increase. If you're going to increase the company's cost, no company will keep you. They'll say bye bye, Tata. Because what company expect is that they want you to fit into as much as a less space. They want the things to be very compact. So now coming back to the slide, it will be very much clear. What Python did is that it reduced this complexity. What it did is that it reduced complexity that it will not use new space for 50. What it will do is that it will use the same space. It will use the same. So what it will do is that it will just create a reference. So no matter how many 50s you're going to use, what it will do is that it will not create a separate memory for 50. It will just use one 50, and if you are going to use 100 times you with a different name, so what it will do is that it will just use a variable name, but it will not create a different 50. Now what I'm trying to tell you is that from this thing is that your space, whatever the space you're trying to use or utilize onto the server, it will not be consumed a lot. It will just be used only once. And what after that you need is a reference. You don't have to use a lot of spaces again. You don't have to create this separate space for a new 50. Once you create a 50, every time if you use a new variable, that will understand, the Python will make you understand that once I have created 50, not what I'll show you practical as well, you don't have to create a new space for this thing. You got it? What exactly I'm trying to tell you is that you don't have to create a new space for the 50 variable. It is created once, it will be created only once, no matter how many variables you're going to use. Is it clear? Are you able to understand what exactly I'm trying to tell you? If not, you can just unmute yourself and ask me, but I'm not able to understand. I'll explain you again and again. I'll try to make it very clear. Are you able to understand what exactly I'm trying to tell you? Yes or no? Is it clear? Yeah, I didn't get an answer from your side. I guess you guys are there or you're not there. Or you disappeared.
Yes, yes, we got it.
Yes, guys, if you're not able to understand, you can still unmute yourself and you can ask me. Okay, not to worry. I'm trying to make you very much clear. Just try to understand what exactly is happening. Only Shravani, okay. Only Shravani and Pavni has said yes. So what about the rest? Kishore, Pradeep, Bindu, did you guys get it? Okay, clear. If you don't understand, not to worry. See, this is just the beginning. Not to worry. When you're going to do it practically, you'll be able to understand very much clear. Now, if you look at it, now if I create, see, now initially what it was doing is that it was pointing. We use the variable A and B, and both were using the same value. But what happens is that now when you create a variable A with a value 50 and variable B with 100, now what is going to happen is that 50 is going to be stored at a different location and 100 is going to be stored at a different location. So for this, the memory is going to be different on the hard disk. And for this, the space that is going to be occupied is going to be different. I'll show you how. Now, let's come to the rules that when you're going to declare a variable, that is called the definition, defining a variable. Defining a variable means when you're going to create a variable. It's like when you're going to give a name, right? When you give a name to your kids or whenever you give a name to your friend. So what are the naming conventions? What is the proper way when you create a variable name? Read at it. First point, a variable name must start with a letter or the underscore letter. What it is saying is that a variable, that is a name, that must start with a letter. That means letter means it should start with A to Z only. Right? In English language, we have 26 alphabet and that are called as a letter. So when you're going to create a variable, you should always start with a letter. That is an alphabet or underscore. So one thing you need to remember is that you cannot use any special symbol apart from underscore. No at the rate, no semi-comma, no hyphen, no equal to when you're going to create a variable name. Only special character that can be used is the underscore. Variable, either you can start from A to Z, whatever the letter you want, or you can start with an underscore. Second, a variable cannot start with a number. As I showed you yesterday, that if I am trying to create a variable with a number at the beginning, so that is not acceptable. You cannot start a variable with a number. Third point, a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscore. Alphanumeric means what? It can be a combination of alphabets and digits. What I'm saying, it can be a combination of alphabets and digits. I'll show you practically. Just try to remember the rules. How do you declare a variable? Fourth, variable names are case sensitive. What is case sensitive? We have two cases, uppercase and lowercase. So if you look in the parenthesis, you'll be able to see DATE in the small case is different than DATE, where D is capital, and as compared to the third one that is all in the uppercase. This three date, right? Pronunciation is same, but this first date is different from second and third. The second date is different from first and third, and the third date is different from first and second. Why? Because Python name is case sensitive. So remember, so if you write a DATE and you are saying pronunciation is same, that will not be accepted. If a single alphabet or a single character is also different from the second one, then you're going to remember those two variables are going to be very different. So remember, variables are case sensitive. Fourth, there are several techniques to write a multiple variables. One is camel case, one is pastel case, and one is the snake case. So remember, three cases you can write a variable. What are those? I'll try to explain. Now let me show you in the Python. Now let us go to the Colab and let's do it programmatically. Okay. Let me switch you back to Python. Okay, give me a second. Okay. So are you able to see my screen? Python, are we back on Python? Are you able to see Python?
Yes.
Colab. Okay. So let's do it programmatically. As I have shared you on the PPT that what are the ways to write a variable. So let's create a variable. Okay. So let me show you this part. It's done. So this is how it generates an error. See, look at it. Three output is there. High. And in the fourth, there is the error. So it has to be cleared. Then and then only you can go ahead. So then let me clear this error. Cool. And now we got an output. Got it? Let me write the date, today's date. What is the date? It's a weekday. Let me comment. How do you comment? My question. If I want to give a comment over here, what is the way to comment in Python? What is the symbol to give a comment? What is the symbol?
Hashtag.
I think
Hashtag.
hashtag. Hashtag. If I use hashtag, this means comment. Remember, see, look at it. It was black initially. When I used hashtag, it became green. And colors also identify different things. It's weekday. Today's date is 30th of Jan, 30/01/2024. And today is Tuesday. Cool. Right. Let's start. If I want to go to the next section, either you click on code or you can just go it from here above and you can just go to the next part of insert and then you can say next code cell. You can do this way as well. Or you can just every time you try to insert, it will appear over here and you need to go. Where is that? Now what I want to do is that I want to declare a variable. I want to declare a variable. How do you declare a variable? Right. So as I said, your name has to start with a letter. What are the letters? That means A to Z. Those are letters. This A to Z, this A to Z, let me zoom in. This A to Z is very different than this A to Z. This is the lower case, this is the lower case, and this is an upper case. This is an upper case. Got it? So if I want to create a variable like same way car, CAR, if I say is equal to BMW, right? So focus on the variable. Do not focus on the value as of now. That comes on the data type. So what our name says that your name should start with the letters. So these are the letters. Let me comment it. Either A to Z, smaller case, or A to Z. Second, you cannot use under. You can use underscore. It can start with underscore. It can start with underscore. With underscore. See, what is name? Name is nothing but that has been given to you. Like my name, it's like your name. Name is nothing but just an identification for a certain person that we have. For a certain value, you need a name. I can use, I can write car in this way as well. I can write car in this way as well. Why? Because it is allowed only underscore. And what happens is that if I use at the rate, now the question arises, what happens if I use at the rate? Let me write over here. If I say, hmm, look at it. It is already showing me an error. It is already showing me an error. Look at the color of this variable. Look at the color of this variable and look at the color of this variable. You will be able to see that these two variables are in black color. These are the variables, right, on the left hand side. And look at the color of this variable. It is orange. That means, and it is already showing an error. Look at this. There is a red color mark below it. Why it is showing an error? Because Python is not able to understand what exactly I'm trying to do. If I use another symbol, maybe like hashtag will definitely will convert that into comment. Look at it. Now it got converted into comment. If I try to use semi-comma, it is showing an error. See, look at it. If I keep it as it is not going to show an error. It is not going to show an error. Why? Because Python has understood that now I'm trying to declare a variable. I'm trying to define a variable with proper Puppet rulebook that you can use the letter at the initial or an underscore. Got it? Now the next point was that you can have an alphanumeric name. Alphanumeric. Now my question to you is that what is alphanumeric? Alphanumeric is nothing but a combination. Am I audible? Am I audible? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Alphanumeric means what? You can have a combination of A to Z, that is name, and as well as the digits. That is the digits. Now, alphanumeric means combination of alphabets and as well as digits. So what I can do is that I can use this way, car 10, car 10, any number. And now I can say like Tata, like that, Tata. See, third point is okay. Now, as I said, the second one is that you can use only underscore. So if I want, I can use an underscore in between. I can use underscore in between. Got it? I can use underscore at the big initial. But if you think that if you think that if I can use any another symbol in between, if I try to use any symbol in between, so still it is not acceptable. See, it is going to show an error. Hyphen, it is going to show an error. Even space, even space is not allowed. Look at it. Because space is also a special character. If you try to use anything, any special character, it is not going to accept. Only special character you can use is underscore. You can use it at the beginning, you can use it in the middle, or you can use it at the last. Correct. But apart from that, you cannot use anything. And when it comes to alphanumeric, remember first, you can always start with letter or an underscore. You cannot start with a digit. Now you might think, so if you have said alphanumeric, so can I start with this way, like 11, and I can say car, and then I can give a name, maybe like Mahindra. Mm, It is not acceptable. See, why? Because in the rule book it has said that you cannot start your name or that is called a variable with a number. I need to remove this. Clear it? And last point was that there are different ways to write a variable. The first case is camel case, correct? Camel case. B is Pascal case. The third is snake case. Snake case. Now I'll try to make you explain what is first. You look at it. Now I'll go to fourth. I'll try to explain what is snake case. Snake case. When you're trying to talk about snake case means all the letters are in small case. Case you are getting it. Case means like lowercase and uppercase. This look do not look at this first word. Look at the last word. Case. Case is nothing but there are two types of case only. Lowercase and uppercase. These are the just names that are given to it. The prefix part. Suffix look at it. Case is nothing but lowercase and uppercase. So what does snake case means that all the alphabets, all you can say all the letters has to be into the lowercase. That means a lowercase, snake case. So when I say it's car, I say like Toyota, right? Toyota. Now what happens is that this is a snake case. All the characters has to be in a lowercase. This is called as a snake case. Now even if I use like another variable like opposite, car brand, right? Car brand. Still it is going to be in the small letters. So all the letters has to be in the small case only. Got it? Like Toyota Fortuner, right? Toyota Fortuner. Right? Because we are talking about a brand. Now if I say second one is Pascal keys. Pascal, Pascal. But it's not E. So look at it. Even I'm writing the name, it is right. I'm writing in the same case only. Look at the snake case. I have written all the letters in a small case only because snake case means what? You need to write everything in a small case. When you talk about the Pascal case, you will be very much clear. The first letter only has to be capital, and the rest, all the letter has to be small. This way. Now I'll say like Hyundai, Hyundai I-20. Got it? So now look at it. Only first character in the case has to be capital, only first letter, and the rest has to be small. And now when I talk about, sorry, this is the Pascal case. First letter, first letter of all the words has to be capital. Look at it. This is called as a Pascal case. This has to be a Pascal case. First letter of all the words. See, this is one word, car is one word, and brand is another word. So only first letter of all the words has to be capital. If I use one more here like new, brand, car brand new. So first letter of that word has to be capital. This comes under the Pascal case. The third case is the camel case. What is this new case called as? Camel case. And when you talk about the camel case, it's like a hum. Except first letter, all the first character, all the first letter or the first character of all the words are going to be capital. Got it? So look at it. Now, snake case means what? Do not look at the values. These are called as the values on the right hand side. I'm talking about the variables. We are learning variables. In the snake case, all the letters are going to be in the smaller case, that is the lower case. In the Pascal case, all the first letter, all the first letter of all the words are going to be capital. First letter, no matter how many words you ever use, first letter always has to be capital. That comes under the Pascal case. Camel case, only only first letter has to be small in the word, and the rest, all the words, first character has to be capital. This is called as the camel case. Alright. So once again, let me repeat. Like when you're trying to create a variable, when you're trying to create a variable, how do you create a variable? Ye- Lowercase and uppercase. Now, if I show you how, let me run this CAR. Let me copy and this. I'll show you how. Look at it. Let me copy and paste over here. Let me remove. See, both the words, look at it. This car, this car is equal to BMW, and this car is equal to Audi. When I say print, when I say print, when I say car, when I say car, look at it. Look at it. What output it will generate? It has generated an output called as a BMW. Why? Because look at the case. This car is different from this car. This car has C as capital. This car has a C as capital. Now, when I make this C as a capital, now it will print Audi as an output. What it? So look at it. Cases are different. Even the pronunciation, even those letters, the words are same, but still it comes to the case. Here it comes to the case. This case has to be different than the this case. Clear? Got it? Now, though both are same, but now here, now if now you ask you a question, now you might ask a question. So if both the names like this car and this car variable name is same, which one it will print? Here comes part of override. Overriding. Overriding means what? It's like it will override this part. It's like a legacy. Now, suppose you have a property, right? Your grandfather has a property. What he'll do is that he'll create a will and he'll pass on that legacy property to your grandfather. Once your grandfather becomes old, he will pass on that legacy to your parent. What parent will do is that it will pass on to you. You will pass on to your own kid. What happens is that whatever is on the latest one, whichever is the latest one, it will always print that value. If I say now next, if I use the same variable called the car, if I say like Mercedes, what it will do is that it will override BMW is first output because interpreter language, Python is interpreter language. It will hold car will have a value called BMW, but when it comes to again, it will see that okay, now car is equal to Audi, right? Car is equal to Audi. Now what happened is that this BMW is replaced by Audi. Now again, when it goes to this part, you'll see that okay, variable is same, it's my car, and now it holds the value called as a merge. So what it will do is that this will be deleted by this, and this will be deleted by this, and now we'll have an output called as a merge. Now look at it. This is called as a functionality of overriding. It will override, as I said in an example, that when it's a legacy, it has to be passed on to the latest person. Whatever is on the latest with the same variable, that will be printed. So this will, if you want, then you need to give a different naming convention. If I say car one, now it will print BMW. See, you cannot use a space in between. It will throw an error. If I run and show, it will throw an error. See, it will throw an syntax. Invalid syntax. Syntax means that you're trying to fit against the rule. This is not accepted in a rule. What the rule says is that you can start with this way. You can start with an uppercase, lowercase, underscore, alphanumeric, and you can write that variables in this case only. Apart from that, you try to do oversmart me. That is what Python does. If you try to oversmart me, I'll show you an error. This is like an error. Now, clear? Got it? How do you declare a variable? Is it clear with you guys? How do you declare a variable? That's called the declaration of a variable, defining a variable. Is it clear or you guys are still unclear with the point? Mute yourself and you can ask me if it's clear, if it's not clear, so you can just let me know. Yeah, Bindu, Pavni, Pradeep, Kishore, Shravani, is it clear? How do you declare a variable? Yes or no? Okay, Pradeep says yes. What about the rest?
Yes, sir.
Kishore, I didn't hear it from you. Um, Clear? Got it? So how you declare a variable?
Yes, sir.
So whatever is on the right hand side, that will call as a value. Yes. Okay, Bindu and Shravani and Kishore, is it clear? How you declare a variable? So it's a very easy to declare a variable. So this is how you declare a variable. Got it? Now I was showing you one thing. Now, as I said on the screen, when I told you on the screen that if I create an object of 50, look at it now. Look at it. So I'll go with this example only. Okay. Okay. No, I'll go with the same example. A is equal to 50. Okay. A is equal to 50. Look at it. Okay. A is equal to 50. And I say ID of A. Okay. When I say ID of A. Okay. What you are able to understand is that wait, this is a location. This is a location where the value of 50 is stored. What I'm saying is that, okay. I just want to know from your side, what are you able to see on the screen? Hold on. Just a second. Oh, okay. I'll show you something. Okay. So I created A is equal to 50. Okay. Now 50 is created and it is stored somewhere. It is stored on somewhere. When I go to this coding, if I go to this coding, you will be see that now this 50 is stored. This is stored somewhere because see how it gets stored because when I clicked on play, when I clicked on a play, it has to be stored somewhere. It is automatically saved. We don't have to do anything because Python is doing automatically at backend. It is doing everything. See, you can see on the right hand side as well. All changes saved. All changes saved. So what is happening is that it has to be stored somewhere. If it is not stored or if it is not saved, then when I come back again on this same page, what is going to happen is that it is going to show me a blank canvas. I don't want blank canvas. All I want is that I want this, whatever the things I'm doing, it has to be saved. Right? If I'm talking about saving, that means it has that it is going to store at certain location. And this is nothing but a location. At this location, this value 50 has been stored. Now what happens is that when I say B, look at it, B is equal to 50. Got it? So B is equal to 50. Now when I say print, now look at it very carefully. Print. Okay. Remember only these four values. 1337. Okay. 1337. Just remember this initial four values. 1337. Okay. Copy, paste. Okay. A is equal to 50. B is equal to 50. Both hold the same value. Both hold the same value. When I print A and B, so look at it. This output and this output is same. See, look at it. 1337. And look at the end. 272. If you look at every single value, it's same as the second one. What I'm trying to tell you is that once you save, this 50 is saved somewhere, right? This is 50 is saved at this location. Alright. So when again you create a new variable for B, and if you're using same value, if you're using same value, what happens is that for this 50 value, it is not going to take any extra or another space in the system or on the hard disk. If it is why? Because it is not going to have that garbage value. This is called the garbage value. Python do not create any garbage value, and that is why its functionality is very faster than any other programming language. Why? Because it does not create any garbage value on this. Now, even if I use any of variables, C is equal to 50, B is equal to 50, E is equal to 50. No matter how many variables I create, okay, look at it. If I say print B, if I say C, E, E, okay, look at it. C, D, and E. Look at it. It will just create a location. It will just say 50 only one time. and it will just use the same location. So look at it. That means what? It is not creating a garbage value. Garbage value means what? When I go to paint, and when I say new, okay. Now this 50 is stored somewhere on the system with that location, with that address. And now what is going to happen is that when this is like A, this is A. So when I use B and value is 50, again value is 50, so it will not create this separate space for this 50 for B. What it will say is that B do not create the same space. What you do is that you use the same existing 50. I already using 50. Do not create some another space. If I use C, right? If I use C and if I use the same value 50, so it will say C do not create, Python will say, do not create a separate space for 50. Already 50 is there. It was already created. What you do is that you can use that same 50. Because 50 is 50. It's like if I use 100 rupees note in India, if I go to Kashmir, the value of 100 rupees is same as compared to Kanyakumari, as compared to Hyderabad, and as compared to Manipur. Wherever I go to any corner of this country, the value of 100 rupees is same. It's not going to change. So what's the point of creating a new space for this 50? Now, if suppose this value of C is 500, if the value of C is 500, then what else going to do is that the value of 100 rupee note is different as compared to the value of 200 rupees note. Now, when I say 200, now when I say value of C is 100, 100, now look at it. When I say 100, now look at it. Now C is at this one. Now look at the memory location. So look at it. This memory location has to be different. Let me remove this part. Remove remove this part. Let me say, see what happened. So this save, print ID. See, look at it now. Look at it. A and B are same. A and B are same because why? 50-50. But look at C now. Look at C. C has created a different location. Now it has told C that because 1,000 is different. That means what? This 50 rupees note is same all across the nation. But 1,000 rupee note is different. So that is why it is using separate. Now what it has done is that if I show on the pane, now what it has done is that for this 1,000, look at it. If I create new, and if I say no, now 50, now this 50, right, this 50 is being used by A and B because the value is same, A and B. But for this C, the new space has been consumed. Why? Because 50 is not same as 1,000. And for this C, is just a name. Just a name. When I say photos, when I say videos, whatever videos are there, whatever photos are there, it appears on the search. So it's like just the name that is given, just to identify yourself. Like for me, name is given, Sangram. For you, name is given. Why? Just for people to identify. If someone wants to call me, I need to have name. Like if they say he, and there are 10 male over there. So nobody will to understand that whom this guy is calling. If I say he says Sangram, so out of that 10 people, 9 people will understand they are not calling them. Right? That person is calling me. So it's like just a name if you want to use that value. Now is it clear? What is the name? What is variable? Name means the same one, variable. Is it clear? Got it? Yes or no? Do you have any questions? Is it clear? See guys, if you have any question, you can just spill the bins that sir, here I'm unclear. Clear?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking, yeah, I'm asking one by one, not to worry. See, do not worry, it takes time, it's slowly slow, it's just an ignition. Okay. But I'm trying to explain you in a very much deeper way. As I said, I'm going to train you from the scratch. Got it? So Bindu said yes, Shravani, Pavni. Guys,
Yes,
if I
sir.
call your names in an incorrect way, please tell me, sir, this is not the right pronunciation. I'll correct it. Okay. Good. Right. Kishore and Pradeep, clear?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So do you? Yeah. So what you do is that today you practice the names, try to see what kind of an error you come if I try to use the variables at the last, the digits at the beginning, another symbol. You just try to do on your own. As see, haven't said I'm just going to train you. I'm just going to mentor you. This is the path you have to travel. Practice is the only way if you want to be perfect. But to try to do practice as much as give a time of 1 week, 10 days, and you will be able to see you are from zero to you will be definitely till 100, or you'll at least be till 10. You have to give a time. This is just the first session of a regular syllabus. Yesterday I did this orientation. Okay, I hope variable is clear. If you are still unclear, not to worry. You practice yourself, and tomorrow when we come back to session, you just let me know what errors you have came across or you're stuck at some point. Okay, try to use it. Okay, on the right hand side, those are called values. On the left hand side, are called as a variable. Not call them as a name because in the computer language we call as a variable. Okay, good. Cool. I hope everyone is clear now. So we'll meet tomorrow and then we'll proceed ahead. Okay. And try to pass on the different variable and use a function called as an ID. If I can see on the screen, I'll try to tell you what happens to ID. ID is nothing but if you want to get the memory location, at what memory location the values are stored, use the function called an ID. Use the function called an ID. Print is nothing. Print is the same function which we want to print something. You use a print function. So when I want to get the printed thing. So you use a print function. What is this function? ID. ID is a function when you want to fetch what memory location this has stored. Because what is memory location? It's like an address. When you ask like where do you live? So you tell okay I live at so and so place, whatever the pin code or postal address. So it's like an address, right? You live at a certain place. This value has to be stored, right? It's stored into your hard disk. So when it's stored on hard disk, it is trying to occupy some location, right? And that location, if you want to find that location, you use a ID variable function called as an ID, and that tells us, okay, this is located at this location. Got it? So what is location? Location is nothing but an address, like where the place you stay, that location is called an address. It's the same thing where this value is stored. This value is stored, that value stored place is called as a location. And if I want to check the location, in reality, we use a GPS navigation. And here we use the function called an ID, and that ID function tells us at what location it is stored. Now you cannot go deep into find out what location. That is not our problem role. We are going to be the data analyst and data scientist. That is not our job role. Find out what is your cup of tea. Okay, clear? So practice today for a while, and if you have any questions or anything, you just let me know tomorrow. Okay? If you are still unclear, not to worry. We are going to go. We are not in a hurry. We are not in a sprint. It's a marathon. Okay? Try to find out how do you get an error if I try to, as I showed you, if I printed high 3 times, it printed 3 times high, fourth, it was error. Try to do something. Even if you are not able to solve the error, that is also okay, but still try to do it. Okay? Clear? Got it? Yes or no?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Great. So let's meet tomorrow, practice here, and we'll meet tomorrow again at the same time. Okay? All right. Until then,